There's nothing quite like the Party Poker big game. 48 hours of non-stop action, a stunning location, and the very best players in the world. This is what poker is all about. To some, this is the Montesino Casino in Vienna, a stunning location for gamblers from all over the world. To the players around this table, it is difficult to see beyond these 8 seats. For those that last the full 48 hours, this is all that matters. Who does what, where, when and how. When the pressure is on, the whole world shrinks down to the size of this table. This is where fortunes will be made and lost. All of that has ensured the big game keeps everyone on their toes, and down the years, it's proved a winning formula.
The big game started life as the poker den. Played in an East End back room, its atmosphere was unique.
Did I find the poker game?
5 people shouldn't be on this table.
This is so sick.
I must be behind.
I'm steaming. Get up, boys.
You're still in my hand.
That's how we do it in LA. That's how we do it in London. Ay, caramba.
That's how I play. That's the way I roll.
Everything. Everything.
But the event quickly grew in both popularity and size. The 4th staging saw the game move to plusher surroundings, with a distinctly different feel as the big game headed to London's West End. A stellar cast from the world of poker flocked to the event, with an Oscar-nominated actress thrown in for good measure. But no one was safe from the game's newest feature, player evictions.
What the hell, why would you?
It was an innovation that dramatically changed the dynamic of the game and the fortunes of those that dared to put their reputations on the line. 12 months ago, the game moved to Nottingham and the Dusk Till Dawn Club. The action was relentless, the faces familiar, and the poker as enthralling as ever.
Time to play the game.
The main thing is to bring a lot of cash. When you come to my game, bring a big bag.
This game is like my career. It was going so well, and now it's all downhill. Yay!
Oh my God, I've never been so owned.
Is this the guy that we really want at the poker table with us?
Only Tony G can do this. This is the greatest show in the world.
The big game changes once again as it heads into its 6th edition, making its debut in the Austrian capital, Vienna. And it's attracted the biggest names in poker, hoping to write their names in the next chapter of the big game's history. Amongst them, Phil Laak, a man who has a fearsome reputation built on success in WPT events and the World Series, amongst others.
I love this. I love it. I missed it last year, and I've tried not to miss it twice in a row, so now here I am.
Daniel Cates, better known as the Jungleman, is making his debut in the game, but his reputation and achievements in high-profile cash games mark him out as a man to watch. His style is certainly well suited to the big game.
Being aggressive in some ways is better. Higher variance style in general works more in a cash game than it does in a tournament.
Sam Trickett is another who is drawn back to the big game. This is now his 3rd year. His reputation is built on tournament and cash game successes, but for Trickett, there is something special about the big game.
It's the excitement of it all. The live streaming is quite cool, like people voting and what have you. Adds a little bit of extra dynamic to the game, like makes people play a bit more aggressively so they don't get voted off and what have you, and it's always a good game as well.
Alec Torelli has the distinction of winning back-to-back WPT events, a rare feat. He, like Trickett, has featured in previous big games. He enjoyed the experience and is back for more.
You don't get the opportunity to play high-stakes poker that often, especially in this format with some tough players, so it was really fun. Bertrand Elky Grospellier has carved out a reputation on the circuit built on the back of a WSOP bracelet and wins on both the WPT and EPT tours. The Big Game 6 marks his debut and his first encounter with the prospect of eviction.
I think it's kind of cool that people can get kicked out if they're not liked by the other. We can vote to kick out one guy after 6 hours or something, so it's kind of a whole different dynamic.
Iliodoros Kamatakis from Greece joins the cast for the opening exchanges in the big game with a buy-in of $5K. The Romanian Ignat Liviu, a regular on the EPT, joins the table with $20K. And finally, Eugene Katchalov, a former WPT champion and WSOP winner, completes the lineup with $10K. The big talking point here is the format and the unique features of the big game. There's 2 ways to leave this big game. Players are, of course, free to leave of their own volition anytime. There will also be an eviction. Half of the evictions are player evictions, where all the players at the table will vote on who they want to leave the game. And the other eviction will be audience evictions, where those watching the live streaming can vote for their favorite player to stay, and the player with the least votes will get knocked out. Players have to buy in for at least 5,000 euros. They can buy in for a maximum of 20,000. They'll be topping up. We're going to see a lot of rebuying. We're going to see a lot of money on this table. And here we are, very first hand. Do you expect there to be a lot of players taking off flops in this game, Mike?
Well, I do. I normally expect it. And normally I would guess so. We're first starting out. Everybody might be a little tentative to begin with. But, Jesse, you've been around these high-stakes games before, and you know, after 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, and certainly 12 hours, the game really fires up, and you get 4, 5, 6 people taking flops, which you never see in a no-limit Hold'em tournament very often.
What I love, of course, this could be the toughest lineup we've ever had, maybe the biggest names. We saw Sam Trickett last year, but since then, you know, him, Alec, Torelli, Jungleman, these are guys who play the highest stakes in Macau in the world right now. And you know, for me, this is a chance to watch the best cash game players in the world over the course of the next 2 days.
We have 3 players.
There's going to be a lot of action here in Vienna. But let's get on to this pot.
8-5-3 is the flop. Phil Laak has flopped the best hand. He's got top pair.
This pot opened up by Iliodoros, I believe. And
yeah, he's flopped bottom pair, and he's let out in bet.
A fairly sturdy bet. I mean, it was 3/4 of the pot there. Phil's called, and
well, the Jungleman has nothing here. He's got jack high.
Once I get rid of these blue chips, I can go.
Well, he was contemplating making a move there or something, but opted not to.
He is one of the guys that I'm most excited to see. Let's see what Iliodoros wants to do on the turn. He's only got 4,000 back.
Well, Phil Laak is looking at the guy's stack size right now. He just made 3 8s and
bet 1,000.
Now, obviously, all Elias can now beat is a straight draw. No other hand he can beat. He can't beat any pair.
You don't like small values, right?
Thank you.
I want to volume up the pot.
This is probably the first time these two have met each other. Those could be the first words spoken. And, you know, I do know that Iliodoros plays a lot of hours online.
Well, he's made the call, drawing completely dead. No card he can catch to win this pot. Just a matter how much he's going to lose.
Well, there's more now, Mike, in the pot than there is left in Iliodoros' stack. He's only got about 3 grand there. My guess is Phil's just going to bet it. Yeah.
Well, obviously, Elias is put him on a drawing hand. Something like a 6-7. And he's made the call, but his read was wrong. And Phil Laak takes down the pot.
And it could be the first rebuy. Yep, he called it out. Iliodoros tapped out there. And Phil, our early winner in this game.
Yes.
Sometimes I find, Mike, that guys, when they play short stacks, they feel like it's going to make them play tighter. I sometimes think it makes them play a little bit looser, and they end up making bad calls sometimes. What do you think?
Well, that's true. Generally, if you start out in a short stack, you know, you're happy to get it in with ace-jack or something like that, you know, when somebody moves in or makes a bet. You don't mind shoving it because you don't have a lot of money in front of you, but in case you build your stack up to 30, 40, 50,000 in front of you, you're not going to make that play. So you definitely play different when you're on a short stack. There's no doubt about it.
Just to set the scene a little bit, we are here and we will be here in the Montesino Casino in Vienna for the next couple of days. There is a WPT tournament going on. There's huge names in town, not just on this table. And the expectation, Mike, is that we are going to just see the biggest names in poker traipsing through this game or more.
No, so many big players craning their necks over at the table here while they're playing the tournament, looking at their chip stack in the tournament, trying to get on the list to get in this game in case things go awry in the WPT event so they can play.
So speaking of action, by the way, we have the 50, the 25, the 50, the mandatory 100. Sam Trickett stuck out a €200 double straddle, and this is what gets the action going. Now, when you make a straddle, Mike, it's a live straddle, so the action comes back around to him. You have the option to re-raise it. This is how in cash games pots swell.
But look at this, 6 players in this pot right now. Got back to Sam, and he raised it. But now Elias has gone all in here. That's the problem with Sam's play here. Somebody moves over the top of him, he's going to have to abandon this hand. And with 6-way action, well, Sam quickly made the call.
Yeah, he wants to gamble with this guy.
Well, Elias only bought in for 5,000, so Sam said, let's go ahead and gamble. You want to gamble? It's ace queen of clubs versus king jack of clubs. Elias out in front, as you can see. And as you said, Trickett just looking to gamble because the guy didn't have that much money in front of him.
Bang, bang, and we got a 10K pot just like that. I think Trickett's looking to win a big pot or rebuy. Oh, there's the ace.
Well, it's come ace, king, 6. Elias out in front with the 2 aces. Becomes hard, they would split this, of course. Well, there's one Art, so Trickett's got a chance to get the chop.
He seems to enjoy this sweat, Trickett. He doesn't look.
And he needs a jack that's not the jack of hearts to win the whole pot. Or a king, of course. That's not. And the 4 diamonds comes off, so Elias going to double up there. He just rebought that very hand, and he's already more than doubled up, Jesse. He's ahead.
Yeah, back to even, down 5K, and now actually ahead nearly 1,000 Ilios. I think we're going to see a lot of those. You just see how when you have the double straddles out there, these things swell up.
Well, I got to tell you, Jesse, I'm very impressed with the action we've seen early on at this table. I mean, there's a chance this could turn into a real sweet little game before it's all over with.
Iliodoros moves into profit as the big game clock ticks away. More to come after the break. Welcome back to the big game, and here in Vienna, the opening shots have been fired as our 8 players make the first moves in what could turn out to be an epic 48-hour journey. How is it different seeding draws in a cash game versus a tournament game, in your opinion?
Well, generally speaking, you want the aggressive players, the guys that play a lot of pots, sitting on your right. You don't want to have them sitting behind you where every time you come in a pot, they 3-bet it and run everybody else out of the pot, for example, and where they have position on you. You want position on the guys that play a lot of pots because they come in a pot and you can just pick them off that way.
We raise 1,025. We raise.
And Trickett's picked up the queens. This could be a bit of fun because, oh boy.
And Phil Laak has got 2 aces.
1,050.
He better put that dinner away and come back and play. That'll be a tell. Anybody that puts a hot sandwich down that comes back to the table, folks, that's always a tell they've got a hand. Let's see if they can pick up on this. Most people just pass quickly unless they got a giant hand while they're eating at the table. Remember that if you're playing cash games where people just ordered food and they come to the table, they're going to eat while the food's hot. They come back to the table and play, they got a hand, just like Phil Laak does here. And Trickett and Laak playing a big pot right here.
I think Sam was just saying.
There should be a rule. If he has aces, you shouldn't have to show. Like, you should at least have him sweat it.
I agree. 100% he should have the right to torture me. If a queen comes, he shouldn't even have to show this. He should be able to torture me.
An ace right on the flop. Unbelievable.
Wow. You don't know which good shot you've got, that's the problem.
How hot is Laak running? We've only been playing 15 minutes.
But it's got to come Jack 10 for Trickett to win this pot, or Queen Queen, obviously, but doesn't look good for him. Well, a queen comes off on the turn. So it's 3 aces versus 3 queens. Trickett needs another queen to win the pot, and boy, would that stir up the game if it comes off.
If running quads, I think so.
Oh, man. Whoa, close. Both players made a full house.
2 pair.
Well, Phil Laak off to a great start. Has doubled his starting stack of 20,000 already. early on, and we're just getting started, and Sam Trickett is on the other shoe. He's lost 20,000.
Belted is Sam Trickett, but for him, this is just like touching his toes before he goes on a jog. And he will have to go 20K deeper, I'm pretty sure.
And now here you are on my left. Oh, torture.
You know, Sam Trickett has got to recognize, I know he had a giant hand there with 2 queens, but as I said, when the pot was raised and re-raised and a man turns around from eating a hot meal to play a pot, you better duck.
The stake turned back and then taking 6,000 in and going back to your stake. I mean, you wouldn't even give an ashtray for queens at that stage. And you know,
it's an easy lay down, Jesse. It really is.
It is, and I think Sam Trickett knows it. I'm just wondering to throw that in so easy like that if Trickett is a little over loose right now. Look at this, Ilios picking up the kings against the ace-king.
We could see some serious blood here, maybe. It's ace-king versus 2 kings. Those are 2 premium hands so far. See what else everybody's got. Jungleman not going to get involved with the king-queen. Well, everybody folded back around to the razor, which is Elky.
Ilios has 3-bet this to 1,100. So Elky does have a couple options. I mean, it's so much different in a cash game than a tournament, Mike, the value of the ace-king, wouldn't you say?
And he just calls here. Really, really top poker players understand ace-king just a big drawing hand. And he has just made the call with the ace-king. In no-limit tournaments, many times people just shove with ace-king, but Elky just wanting to see a flop first before he commits more chips.
Oh, check.
Let's come Jack, Jack 5, and it's gone check, check. Very surprised at that. Now a 6 comes off. That check on the flop by Elias may cause Elky to go for some chips here.
Absolutely. Very deceptive little check there by Ilios. And
believe me, if you're Elky, it's a tough spot for it. I mean, you say if a guy had a pair, he would have bet the flop when a pair came out there. He didn't do it. Maybe the guy's got ace-queen here. And look, as you can see, Elky falling right in that trap. And I don't blame him. I understand it.
Just called the 1,400 pot now, all the way up to 5K. Bam!
Oh, and Elky's hit the only card he can win with, an ace. Pretty incredible stuff.
I'll say. He had that going for him.
Unbelievable.
Now, how deep does he want to go? Ilios has about 8K. Elky already saw that he was willing to call kind of light against Phil Laak. You might want to go for a big bet here.
2,550.
Well, 2,500 or so is what he's bet. And now Elias is saying, why didn't I bet on the flop and the turn? The guy could have never called me with ace high. Now he's got a problem. Now you put the guy on aces up, or was he slow playing 3 jacks all along?
And a call.
And he made the call again. As you said, this guy's a calling station on the river.
Fold.
He paid Phil Laak off, and now it pays off Elky.
2,550.
Mike, don't think the players won't have noticed that. They're going to try and get Ilios in pots now. They may come in every time he enters. If you know that a guy early on in the cash game is going to just pay off river bets all the time, it makes you want to go after him, doesn't it?
Well, it looked like Elias was reeling in Elky, and it turned around. Is it the fish caught the hook, or the hook caught the fish, or whatever it was? I don't know, but Elky escaped and won the pot.
He did. Feel pretty lucky right now, Elky Grospellier.
WPT Vienna going on right now as we speak around the room. And as you pointed out, Jesse, a lot of big-name players playing in that tournament.
A lot of guys came over for the Premier League. They've stayed. A lot here for the WPT. And this cash game, this table, this stage is going to be in action. We're going to be here for 48 hours straight. And I do believe that there's going to be a lot of interest in people getting into this game.
Well, flop comes queen, queen 3 here with 2 spades. As you can see, Liviu there as a flush draw.
And Katchalov's flopped a full house.
Katchalov has flopped a full house. A dream flop for Eugene Katchalov, as you can see. He's just going to sit back and hope the guy makes a flush. He's going to hope they've got a queen in their hand, perhaps. And don't fill up, but for sure, I don't see him raising here. Now, the only way he would raise here is if he puts an opponent on a queen where he knows they have to go for their whole stack. If you flop 3 queens, you're just not going to get away from this hand.
And he's gone for the raise, Mike.
Well, he's gone for the raise because he's hoping somebody's got a queen and he's going to get the whole stack in there. If he makes a call there, what's a guy going to call with? It looks like he's flopped 3 queens. He's slow playing if he makes a call with this flop. So what do you put the guy on? Now this could chase out the flush draw. That's the downside of this raise, because the guy's putting Katchalov on 3 queens right here, and he doesn't know what the side card is. So if that spade would come up, for example, like the jack of spade, you know, he may not get involved anymore. But wow, this guy's calling with the flush draw, drawing dead here. Does it come 6-6 or king-king or queen-queen or some combination of that? But right now in bad shape. And a 5 comes off. Now the guy's drawing stone dead. Better hope the spade doesn't come off in the river. And I'll tell you the truth, Katchalov has probably put him on a queen in his hand. He knows he's got a queen or a flush draw. It's absolutely one of those 2 things. Nothing else the guy can have here where he's going to keep playing the pot.
The pot is about 4K. Kind of the story about raising there, he is representing a queen Katchalov on the flop, Mike. Isn't he also kind of representing some hand where he wanted to get the cheap showdown? That's out the window now. Now he's just...
Well, Katchalov fearful the guy's got a queen in his hand, and obviously he'd have a number of outs to beat him in that case, so you're going to make him pay to draw. If he knew the guy had a flush draw, for sure he would check. But the way the hand was played, the guy could have easily had a queen in his hand, and Katchalov would have made a lot of money, but he still wins the pot, and we're moving on.
Over Eugene Katchalov ahead about 3 grand, having started with 10,000 euros.
This is mine, right?
Easy money, he says.
He never says much, believe me. He lets us chip through the talking, and they talk loud and clear.
Both Elky and Eugene in the black right now, along with Phil Laak. Everyone else stuck somewhere between a little or a lot, although Torelli's really just stuck to wages.
Whatever the blinds are, huh?
Yeah. It's the one thing you would never expect is someone to just get blinded out in a cash game. People don't talk about it, but Alec's starting well, if that's his intention.
Well, the truth of the matter is, when it comes to tournaments or cash games, you fare much better in the long run playing tight in cash games, because blinds and antes never go up, so you can afford to wait for hands in cash games because of that factor. In tournaments, they continually go up, and if you're sitting back waiting for hands, you're getting anted off and blinded off in tournaments, and your stack goes down. So if there's one area that you're better off playing tight, it's in a cash game rather than a tournament.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to criticize anyone for playing tonight. What these guys are doing, these guys, this is their business, right? They're trying to win.
I don't fault Torelli at all. I might have played the same way he's played this entire tournament so far. You know, he's only losing 500 so far, which is nothing.
I don't fault him either, but he will have to be aware, and I'm sure he is, that you know, players are getting evicted.
I wouldn't worry about that either.
Check.
If he gets evicted, you take your little loss and you just go over and play another cash game somewhere.
Right. If they don't want to play with you, find somebody else who does. That's not a bad idea. Don't let them change the way you play.
750. Call 750.
Well, look at this.
Well, this is quite amazing, actually. Laak is just floating.
I'm in shock.
This hand with no pair, no draw, out of position. And, you know, as it turns out, Mike, Liviu doesn't have much.
No, I'm in shock that this is the hand Laak would float on. Not even a gut shot straight draw, nothing. No hand, no draw. Folks, he's playing this pot just in an effort to steal the pot later on. And this could be a card he could do it with right here.
Wow, he's bet big there. He's overbet the pot. Check that out. He's bet 3,500 into 25.
I mean, knows no matter what the guy's got, it's hard for him to continue. And as it turns out, the guy has a two-way straight draw.
I know very little about Ignat Liviu. Very few people do, but from what we've seen so far, this guy looks pretty cool. He's a thinking player.
Well, Jesse, I was just getting ready to say, if he calls him here and calls him on the end with ace high, scratch my name off that list to get in this game. That would just be too good.
And for Phil Laak, Mike, you must be a little surprised already.
Well, I know he plays cash games a lot more aggressive than he plays tournaments. He knows if he loses a buy-in, he just rebuys. He doesn't worry about it. He likes to last in tournaments. He wants to go as far as he can go, so he plays much tighter.
There's Scott Seiver, the current now, not only the WPT champion, but the Premier League Poker 5 champion. He's in the house. He's looking a little bit worse for the wear. I think that may have had something to do with the celebration.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Out late last night, partying up. Why not? Took down 500,000 in that coveted Premier League title yesterday. So good for Scott.
If you lost to one card, one queen with aces, if you lost to one card, if you lost to just one card, you
without having to see the other card, yeah. I don't think those buttons would be in conversation.
I don't need one card.
Yeah. Pretty confident I just thought I'd just use one of them.
Just another one. Can we get a green tea, please?
Highly regarded Scott Seiver, and really, Mike, as people see when the show comes out or who are following the updates, no surprise that Scott Seiver won. He played great these last couple of days.
Played late and obviously got lucky when it counted, so that's what you got to do if you win tournaments.
300 is the open from Ilios.
Be careful, don't spill the drinks over there, guys.
Laak's called on the button, and Jungleman's asked Ilios how deep he's playing. So the question is, do we flat here with the ace-queen, or do you re-raise?
That's a good question.
You just want to put more money in the pot right now. That's so you're doing it.
Jungleman
he is re-raised. He's 3-betted to 1,300. I'll tell you, Jungleman impresses me more and more all the time I see him. We just saw him fold 2 5s pre-flop when he was 3-bet by Katchalov, and here he is, knowing it's okay to 3-bet this time with ace-queen.
He just got one of those internal clocks, Jungleman, doesn't he? You know, he's got the rhythm right. I guess he just makes it easier. Even though he hasn't played that much live, you just get the feeling about where people are at. And he's made this decision perfect.
It's a grand and it's a grand, you know. And then you give the kid his money because he worked hard. He put all those hours in online. He knows all the moves. You know, now he gets paid. You know?
2 players.
Well, the quick 1,000 called by Phil Laak there, hoping to hit some kind of flop. And he's done it. He's flopped a flush. Phil Laak, incredible, has flopped a flush here. His opponent drawing dead, almost. He's got top pair and top kicker. Actually, the Jungleman could be in big trouble here.
Yeah, and it'd be even more incredible. Ilios, who folded for the raise, he would have flopped the nuts. Wow, this is an amazing,
Phil Laak setting him all in right here. Well, Phil Laak obviously afraid that the guy might have a big diamond here. Doesn't want to get outdrawn in this hand. And if he flopped the set, he knows he can't go anywhere. And in case he has this exact hand, an ace-queen or 2 kings or 2 aces, it's a tough decision as to what to do. When a guy makes this kind of bet, it looks like he's got the ace of diamonds in his hand.
I like this bet. Jungleman kind of smiled and laughed, said, this is real money, isn't it? He kind of thinks the whole thing is funny.
How about Elias? He raised it originally, threw his hand away, would have flopped the nut flush.
Or he's going to go be sick in the toilet, believe me, right now.
Unbelievable.
But this is a tough little decision here for the Jungleman. I mean, Phil has made kind of a deceptive play, Mike. You don't really put a guy on a flop flush when he does this in position, do you?
I tell you the truth, you put him on the ace of diamonds, and Jungleman might say he might have ace-queen with the ace of diamonds where he's free-rolling on me. That's what he might be thinking here.
He hates it.
He might have flopped the set where I'm drawing dead. You know, he has to put him specifically on 1 diamond, the ace of diamonds, to make this play. There's no other hand Jungleman can call with here. You put him specifically on that hand exactly. You'd think if he had the nut flush, he'd play this hand different. If he had any kind of pair combination, he'd just make the call there. He wouldn't move all in. So let's see if Jungleman sorts this out. I think he will. I don't think he's going to call.
Would Phil Laak move all in here with like some sort of 2-pair hand, maybe the Queen Jack or something like that, or even a set of 3s?
No. And I'm not sure if Phil Laak should have moved all in there if you want to know the truth about it. But
you guys just know that I never bluff. If you go with that rule, you'll do well. If I bet, fold. That's what I think. Because I really am playing tight today.
You're playing tight. Elias over there with the ace of diamonds.
I have a big hand, Jungle.
He knows that the guy didn't have enough flush because he had it.
Welcome back to Vienna for the 6th staging of the big game. 48 hours of poker, and as the city moves from day to night, the action at the Montesino continues. We are 8-handed, with players itching for a chance to be a part of the big game, but the warning signs from Phil Laak are ever present. Over 20,000 to the good and dominating this marathon event. Literally, we've got among the best in the world that are in town, and
just think of the players that are lined up to play in this game. I think Tony G is going to be one of the first guys to come in, and he is going to completely put guys on tilt if they're not already there. So really, really going to be fun to see how it all pans out.
G's in town. Hopefully you're going to get in the game at some point. We got Scott Seiver. I know Sorel Mizzi. Geshkin buying, I saw him running around. Jonathan Duhamel is around.
Yevgeny Timoshenko wants to play. So many good players here that would like to play, and if they get knocked out of the WPT event, believe me, they are getting on the list.
Vanessa Selbst, Roberto Romanello, JP Kelly. It goes on and on. And, you know, you just have to open the door and stand outside or look behind the stage or in front of it. Wow, it's going to be fun.
Well, Tony G will be fun to see when he gets to the table. And I'll really be looking forward to seeing Vanessa Selbst at the table as well. I think she is phenomenal.
Check on the flop. This pot just a small raise and call for the button for Trickett. Jungleman in the straddle spot.
150.
And maybe Sam Trickett's got somebody on the hook here.
Well, he thought he had him on the hook when he flopped the top pair.
What do you mean to bet 150?
Now the Jungleman's bet out when the queen comes off, so Trickett not so happy about trapping anymore maybe, but he's definitely going to pay him off.
What did you mean to bet 600? 7?
Better
I normally bet 600.
Better hope a 10 doesn't come off.
He's teasing. These guys know each other pretty well, and I think Sam's right.
Oh my gosh.
Oh boy.
A 10 does come off, giving Trickett 2-pair. The Jungleman has a straight.
Wow, he's managed to check it. He's managed to check it, has Jungleman.
It's just like he knew he made 2-pair on the river. Only way you can check that. Just incredible. Well, watch this, folks.
900.
Punishment is coming. The Jungleman checked that on the river after betting it along.
I guess it just has more to do with he just thinks any hand that Trickett calls with, or most of the hands he calls with on the turn, he's going to try and get a value bet in on the river, Mike.
Well, you're going to see Trickett's forehead hit the green felt very shortly because it's going to go bonk just as soon as Jungleman raises him. He's going to say, "You've got to be kidding me." Well, he does get raised.
So it's just a question of how much. It looks like about 2,700 perhaps.
Get the camera back on Trickett here so you can see his frustration.
And this is also where you get to see the kind of stuff Trickett's made of. This looks like to me an impossible fold, Mike, but I know Trickett does not like paying off hands on the river. How tough a fold is this?
2007.
He does beat a bunch of hands, doesn't he?
Yeah, not so easy. He beats a lot of hands, but none that the guy's going to raise with. I mean, essentially, he can beat a bluff now. The guy's going to just call him with 2 queens. He's going to come with 2 jacks. But Trickett's just curious.
Really weird that you bet 150 now. It's made it all more complicated. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
He's counting the pot up.
Could be a slow roll, by the way.
Trickett was positive, absolutely positive, that Jungleman meant to bet 600 on the river instead of 150.
Well, he makes a call.
Excuse me, on the turn.
Jungleman shows him the straight. I don't think Jungleman could have played that any better.
2-pair on the river?
Yeah.
Wow, he called out his hand.
It's like he knew it when he checked.
Yeah.
So
That shows you how good these guys are. I really thought Trickett would get away from that hand. Truthfully, once he gets raised there, all he can beat's a bluff.
Made it 2,700, right?
But obviously, Jungleman capable of bluffing there. It was as much a curiosity call by Trickett there as anything in my mind. Just wanted to see what he had, even though I'm sure he felt like he was beat.
Trickett right now the big loser at this table, down about 23K. And for Jungleman, who's just about even, but from where I'm sitting, Mike Sexton, I think he's been the most impressive player at this table so far. Here we are, Vienna, Austria. This is the WPT Vienna at the Montesino Casino. One of the nicest venues in all of Europe these days. Every night, this casino gets packed with cash tables in action, Mike. Trickett talks a lot. Well, he doesn't say much, to be fair, about the big game in Macau. But I have heard him say a couple things, and one of the things is, you know, if you just sit there in Macau, nobody likes you. They don't want to play with you.
Oh, look at this hand. The two chip leaders at the table, pretty much the chip leaders. Laak raises with ace-queen of diamonds. The Jungleman has a pair of kings sitting right behind him. And he is 3-bet it to 1,100.
Well, this is where we're going to see one certain difference between tournaments and cash games, Mike. There is no way in a million years Phil Laak is going to get too much money in the middle with ace-queen pre-flop.
No, you're going to call and see a flop.
Yeah.
And if it comes queen high, it's going to be big trouble for Phil Laak. Well, it's come 9-7 deuce here. So it's a hand he can easily get away from now. You see Jungleman betting the kings.
Just remember some of the dynamics that went on between these guys. Jungleman 3-bet from the small blind at an earlier point today when Phil Laak flopped the flush. And Phil made a big raise on the flop. Here, Mike, we've got
1,400 bet on the flop. Phil Laak called it. I don't think he'd be calling much more. He was hoping to hit a diamond or an ace or a queen, obviously. That didn't happen.
Do you see Jungleman checking here for any reason? No, he's going to just go for 3 streets of value, isn't he?
Yeah, no chance he's checking there with 2 kings. And
right, since I don't take any time for my decisions, you mean? Yeah. Right, I like that. I pretty much know what I'm doing in a few seconds. So
yeah, it's good. You're one of the best about it.
But Phil's saying there that there's a lot of games he plays in where you have to play fast.
Then this is active. And this is
poker games are so much better when players play fast. They really are. And especially a game like this where people are watching, you got to move it along.
Sleeper straddle.
Keep playing fast or the viewers are going to be going to bed. Now, Phil Laak's explaining what a sleeper is. In poker jargon, that means somebody is double the size of the big blind in a position other than that's under the gun. So in this case, Phil Laak is 1 away from being under the gun. So if Elias folds his hand, the straddle goes automatically. That's what Phil Laak is saying.
It's a sleeper straddle.
And if he comes in the pot, then Phil can take his money back and they play the hand normally.
Well, he can't take his money back, can he? Okay.
Yes. If this guy acts on his hand, if Elias would act on his hand, Phil Laak now has an option. Now it goes automatically.
200.
And will he still get the opportunity to re-raise if it gets back to him?
Correct.
Wow.
That's what a straddle is.
Okay.
You have an opportunity to re-raise.
So we are going to see, this might be happening all over now.
600.
These guys didn't know about sleepers?
I never heard of them.
I can
see Phil Laak trying to sleep from every position now, right?
Yeah, players do. But if you sleep it like 3 or 4 deep, it very rarely comes into play because somebody always acts in front of you. So then you just pull your sleeper back.
You have a stack of yellow somewhere?
Laak has called. It was Liviu who re-raised the 200 up to 6. Cold called by Torelli, and now Laak. Everybody's got suited connectors, and Ignat is on the lead.
That's the best way.
Well, flop comes ace-5-3, all hearts. Alec Torelli has flopped a flush, as you can see.
Let's see if he plays this differently than Phil Laak did his.
Well, Liviu has flopped a pair and a straight draw, and he's going to bet out. Unless he does some powerful drawing, he'll be kissing these chips goodbye.
Yeah, about 900. What do you think overall? Better to call here than to raise for Torelli?
I do.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that really scares you here is if a heart comes off. Even if the board pairs, you're not that scared at this point. You don't like it, but you're not that scared.
And if it happens, it happens. Torelli certainly might get, oh boy.
Well, this could spell big trouble.
We're going to get to see a little bit about what Liviu is made of. He's picked up now the kind of hand, Mike, where he can get a lot worse hands to call him.
Well, Ignat now has a straight. He is in dire straits. He's drawing completely dead, cannot win the pot, doesn't matter what comes off. Whatever he puts out there is just going over to Torelli's stack. And Torelli is now going to make a move. He's going to raise now.
3,000.
You're going to hope the guy has made a straight or has a set. But it doesn't matter. I think you're going to make a move right now. You don't know the guy's drawing completely dead. If you did, you just make a call here in this spot.
He's having a look at Ignat's stack. Ignat's bet 3 has only got about 10 back. So
I think you just put him all in right here. Or certainly at least raise it the same amount he's bet. Maybe make it 6,000. That might be the best play.
And the reason, Mike, is if you put them all in here, you might get called by the guy's got, say, the aces with a big heart, or even a set, or even a straight. Whereas if you call here, you're not going to have as good a chance to get the money on the river. Or?
Yeah, but if the board pairs or a heart comes off, now you're frozen. You can't make any more money on the river. That's the problem. I think you have to make a raise here. Just a matter if you make a big raise or a small one. Of course, knowing Torelli, he might be fearful he's already beat. He might put the guy on a bigger flush.
He's going for the call.
Well, he has just made the call.
I think in his mind he's thinking, well, either Ignat's going to bet that 7,000 on the river or I am.
Well, that is a saving card right there for Liviu, because now he knows the very best he can do is split the pot with Torelli. He is playing the board, as we say. He had a straight before that, but now the board shows a straight. So all Liviu knows he can do is get his money back at this point, period.
I'm on him.
He's gone all in.
Well,
He's
Torelli quickly calls.
He was trying to get Torelli off a chop. How about that? He ended up losing his money, Mike.
Well, he did lose his money. Turns out he lost it on the river when I thought he could save it.
I don't know, you might cover. I think I got you.
But instead, Torelli just makes a snap call with the flush and takes down the pot.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Don't knock the knocker, right, Mike? Alec Torelli now pretty much the big winner here in this game, and he's done it by playing a little bit conservative, a little bit solid, and very well. Welcome back to the Austrian capital in the Party Poker Big Game. 48 hours of action, 8 players setting out on an epic voyage of discovery. All 8 still aboard, but a way to go yet. I am joined by Mike Sexton.
It's hard to do.
It is.
There you see the rebuy is 20,000.
He looks all right. I don't think he came here with just a 1 bullet. And the way Ignat's been playing, this 1 bullet shouldn't worry him too much.
Actually, I don't care what the real answer is.
Wasn't that one was just here doing it?
They're betting on what Jungleman thinks about certain questions. And let me tell you something, he does have a unique brain, Jungleman.
This is Jungleman. He gets whatever
That's
he
proposition
wants.
betting.
Jungleman.
Phil Laak and Antonio Esfandiari came up with this game. They invented it, I believe. And it doesn't matter if the guy is correct or wrong in his answer. It's if they think you'll get it right or you're closest to him or vice versa or whatever that is. But Phil Laak looks down at 2 jacks, so he's going to put a temporary hold on trivia and play this hand, I promise you.
He made it 325. Quick call from Jungle. Just behind the button.
No, but you shouldn't say it.
And it'll be fun to see how Ignat reacts to losing his first stack of 20K. At this stage, he's been...
Well, Jungleman with the king, queen, got the 2 overcards. Going to look at a flop.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
It's the kind of hand you can't expect Jungleman to get in trouble with. He's either going to flop some of it or he's not going to lose any more money. There comes Jack 7-6, top set for Phil Laak, and he's saying, please have something where you can make a play at me, please.
How hot is Phil Laak right now? He's definitely in good stroke, isn't he?
Uh-oh, Jungleman could be heading toward the jungle. He is raising on this flop and quickly got re-raised by Phil Laak right there.
you win, sir.
Phil Laak, of course, putting him on some kind of flush draw or straight draw. Thought he might could get outdrawed. That's the reason he re-raised right there.
Went bam, bam, bam.
All right.
Yeah.
Laak made it about 500, Jungleman up to 1,200, and Laak said, here.
But don't slow play me. That'd be cruel.
Sam's just taking a 5,000 euro top up. He wants to make sure he's got as much as he can have at all times, but frankly, until he wins a pot, Mike, he's not going to be happy, because for him right now, even the top buy-in of 20,000 is feeling short-stacked.
Well, people watching out there are saying, hey, I thought this was a big game, a no-limit game. Why can't the guy buy what he wants to? They try to limit it so one guy doesn't buy in for $500,000, bust everybody, and the show's over before 48 hours are up. So you don't want to have that situation, so they put limits on how much you can buy and rebuy at a time. And I think it's good for the game, honestly, I do. Might not be good for Sam Trickett right now, but it's definitely good for the game.
It'll keep the game going, Mike. It'll also mean that 25 or 30 hours from now, when a guy comes in with his 20,000, he doesn't want to have to look at stacks of 300, 400, and just think, I've got no chance. They're just going to freeze me out.
I think we've bid high enough to where we don't have to stop.
Well, three-way action here, pre-flop. And the flop comes ace, king, queen. And as you can see, Katchalov has flopped 2-pair, Jungleman with top pair.
I don't know, it's big enough we could go.
Now, Jungleman's opened this to 300.
And it's checked all around. Look at this. The Jungleman now has 3 aces. A horrible card for Katchalov there. He had the best hand on the flop. He no longer does. But what about Jungleman checking the flop? He won't check this time around.
It's going to get tricky for Katchalov to play, Mike, when Jungleman bets. Can you just lay it down now? Can you?
Well, boy.
Can you put him on an ace?
You would have thought the guy would have bet an ace on the flop had he had one. Now, even if he's got a king, he's got Katchalov tied here. They would both play aces and kings and a queen kicker. But because he checked on the flop, he's lured Katchalov into this pot. Katchalov drawing completely dead. No card he can catch to win the pot. 7 comes off. And again, Katchalov checks. And the Jungleman going to bet the 3 aces.
It's 20, looks like 2,100 or just over 2,000. This is about an 80% pot bet. It's a big bet.
Euros. You're right. I gave euros.
I wouldn't know which way Katchalov's going to go here, Mike. Obviously, he can beat anything but the ace in a sense.
Well, it can't beat a straight if a guy flopped a straight. Like I had king jack or king 10, they'd split this pot, remember? But chances are he wouldn't bet on the river if he had that hand. So as you said, it looks like a bluff or nothing. It looks like he's got 3 aces or a bluff. He's got nothing. So Katchalov's got to try to sort it out. Normally, he's one of the best in the world at sorting these things out. Let's see if he gets it right here. And he does. That's why this guy is such a phenomenal poker player, folks. How many people would lay down kings and queens there like he did?
I agree with you. Jungle couldn't get him to bite.
What did I guess?
Up, down, even now is Jungleman
I
Cates.
guess 2,500.
But he would have preferred somebody else in that seat besides Katchalov. The cards hit the table a couple of hours ago, and already a tale has started to unfold, and it's a familiar tale of Phil Laak dominating the big game. Over 26K to the good. Alec Torelli has had a good couple of hours at the table, mainly due to the misfortune of Ignat Liviu, who fell foul of Torelli's flush. Sam Trickett would rather forget events so far, having been at the mercy of Laak. He's rock bottom on the profit and loss table.
There's been no let-up in the action around this table. Fortunes have risen and fallen. There's no doubting that Phil Laak has been on the right side of the game, whereas some others have been less fortunate. But there is still more than 40 hours to go. For some, there's never enough time. For others, that ticking clock has an impending sense of doom about it. But whatever happens, the big game goes on.